So what are a couple things that you run across or what you see that would help someone go from a 680 to a 720? I know we've talked before about like getting authorized and stuff like that. We do like a 911 loan, but there's also just, like you have one or two little items, you can usually take care of them in a shorter period. Like what are a few of the things that they could actually use to increase their score?
First and foremost, this is not the time to open new credit unless you've specifically talked to someone and they've given you a step-by-step outline. Don't buy in online. Don't let the internet tell you that opening more credit, getting more of a mix is the answer, because it's not usually in this range. That's first and foremost. Secondly, any old derogatory information, now's the time to see what can be done about it and leverage it. Especially if it's a local bank, especially if it's something from 3, 4, 5 years ago that's already got a zero balance, paid off, was that one-off fluke. The odds of getting a letter of deletion, the odds of getting it fully removed are so much better than they've ever been, and doing it methodically. The third thing, inquiries. If you've already been shopping for money and you already have been applying for different things, looking at a fast inquiry removal is going to make a substantial positive impact.
And I know from going through some other things is like using your personal credit, because I have, to get a business credit card, had an inquiry on my personal credit. But since no new credit was established under my personal name, I could go and dispute that inquiry. So if you're using your personal credit to build your business, those inquiries should all be disputed, right?
Correct. Yeah. And even more so too, when we're talking just day-to-day personal usage, like this is something everyone should be aware of. If you're going into the car dealership does not legally have permission to pull you 1,400 times.
Which they do. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they're going to shop you. They want to know how they're making the best money.
Yep. So don't go out and start looking for new credit right now.
Yes.
Make sure your credit score is there. We're like the 680 to 7, moving it to 720 plus. What are some of the other things that people should be looking at in this current environment to make sure they're getting the best funding?
Relationship.
Good point.
Let's be real here. Who are the companies that are either having the hardest time and who we're going to see tighten their belts? Or are the companies that are going to look at it and go, you know what, you're just too small of a fish? It's going to be those big guys. And I won't name names because that's just not what we're here to do.
Yep.
And you guys all know which ones I'm talking about. The more that we can build relationship, local, human, real, the better we're going to be.
So with local banks, local credit unions.
Business banks too. Yep. It's so important. And not just from a tax standpoint. Cool. We can talk about what different CPAs it'll advise, what the IRS will advise, what all of them will have to say about it. And none of them are wrong.
Yep.
However, I'm not any of them. There's something to be said for if you run all of your transactions through a business account, even if you pay yourself out of it, you're still correctly creating the picture that people want to see. And that's what we have to remember, whether we're talking about personal credit, business credit, leverage, banking, relationship, is who's reading this book and what are they reading? Yep. It's like a picture book with no words. So only their personal experience can actually dictate how they're reading that book and that story. So what does that look like? That screenshot in time on your personal credit is based off your statement closing dates. We want to do our best to pay all of our credit cards the day or 2 days before the statement cycle closing date to make sure that utilization is as low as possible. It's very easy to find that both on myfico.com or even by looking at the actual PDF statement. We want to leverage that next step and go, okay, if someone's looking at us as a business, if we're not depositing any money into a business bank account, if we don't have a business license, if we don't have a business phone number, if we're not an established EIN on some way, shape, or form, then are we actually operating as a business?
And all these things sound like they're monumental, but I mean, it's like getting an EIN. It takes minutes. Building and finding the banks that work with businesses and focus on businesses, it might take a couple hours, but that's about it. And understanding what they want. I mean, if you put deposits in a bank and you keep deposits in a local bank, they're more likely to approve you for lines of credit, for their credit cards, for all those things.
For their vehicles.
Yeah, for their vehicles, for the properties. Mm-hmm. All of these things are there. It'll be easier for you if you build the local relationship. So being local and knowing who you're banking with is vital.
And the best part of that too is that the smaller regional banks, the business banks, don't have the same guidelines that have to be published, hard and fact boxed lines.
Yep.
They actually have the ability to do make sense deals when they make sense.
Yep. And I always look for growth banks. There's always some bank out there who's looking to grow and they're looking to expand. And that means they're going to look at a lot of different companies, entities, and to try to approve them, try to get more loans, more growth, so they can either expand to either sell or buy. But there's always a bank who's trying to grow, and there's ones that are kind of just happy where they're at. So you got to shop around. You do have to talk to a few of them just to see what products they will offer. Because if you're in real estate, you want someone who likes to work with real estate investors.
And we want to be aware of that too when we form that business. Are we actually in the business of real estate, or are we in property management? Are we looking at building our own real estate portfolio? What is it that we actually do?